afternoon. I sit here, you see the view, how beautiful it is. Yeah, wonderful place. I was asked to tell you guys more about my stay at the hotel in Norway. Uh, and that's what this story time video is gonna be about. If you have watched the previous story time video where I talked about my time in Norway, the time I spent at two farms, and also my walk across the mountains to get to the hotel. That's where this story starts actually. The previous storytime video ended with me walking into the staff room and greeting the staff who worked there, and also being greeted by them. And there was all kind of nationalities actually at this hotel. There was obviously some Norwegian, and there was some other Danish people there, and I believe there was a couple who was Swedish as well. But a lot of different people, and and it was very welcoming to come to this place as a new person, as a new staff member. Um, already the yeah already when I just got there, when I just walked into the room, and I was just putting some food on a plate, and they started talking to me and asking, who are you and what are you going to do here? And I told them that I was going to be I guess the translation of the job I was going to do would be something like kitchen hand service, kitchen hand helper or something like that. And actually, one of the people in the room was the head chef, and he cracked a smile and said, "Well, welcome to this place." And by the way, this young gentleman right next to you, that is the other person who do the same job as you. And well, we greeted, and it was all good. And well, actually, I think it was like no more than half an hour later, I was invited to a kind of a party get together the same night. So just to they were gonna have a little bit of a get together in one of the staff apartments. Well, not exactly apartments, but staff rooms. The gentleman who sat next to me, the young gentleman, he said, "Oh well, I can show you around the place, and also teach you how to do the job." So that was all good, and as I say, the same evening we had this get together at one of the staff rooms, and it was very nice and nice people. As I think I mentioned in the previous video, all the staff on this hotel was all young people. So we were approximately the same age, everybody. So it was nice. And I stayed at this hotel for 8 months, and it was just an amazing 8 months. Really, it was fall, winter, and spring. I spent at the place, and nature in Norway is just amazing. It's so beautiful, and yeah, really wonderful place. The way it worked, the staff at this place, as I say, we were approximately same age, all of us, and it was just like it was our hotel. Very quickly, I got the same feeling, because they just took me in, and I became part of this. Well, like you could almost say community of staff members, and it was just wonderful, um, very positive and great experience, really. Um, and then of course also as I say, the nature on top of it. It was just amazing. Um, but yeah, we had some good times, and we had some rough times too. There was at one point during fall, the first snow had arrived,
Yeah.
and the weather report was that it was going to be a severe storm, and a lot of snow would come down, and so it was, we prepared for it, and the kitchen, they made sure they had enough propane. The cooktops in the kitchen was all propane, all the burners, and so I was about to say the only thing in the kitchen that was not propane was the ovens. The ovens was these kind of steam ovens kind of things, and but besides that, the kitchen was all propane burners. That, as it came out, was a good thing though, but I'll get back to that. Um, anyway, um, we were getting ready for this storm, and people had arrived, or the guests, they had arrived during the day, and it's in Norway. It's very common to go to the mountains, to stay in mountain hotels, alpine hotels like this, um, during the weekend. So the hotel was fully booked, and I remember I was actually at work that evening, and it was good, and but right around, I believe it was 10 o'clock, it just said, poof, and it was all black. It was all complete blackout, and obviously the dishwashing machine just cut out, and we were like, okay, well, guess we were doing the dishes by hand then. And I was like, can we do it by hand? I got to think of it. So I went over to the kitchen. I had actually prepared for this, so I had a small flashlight with me, so I could see where I was going, because it was black, dark. It was pitch black, but I took my flashlight and walked to the kitchen, and it's just around the corner, and said, well, chef, what to do now? Can we do the dishes by hand, or is it not allowed? And he said, no, you cannot. The water, when it's a professional kitchen like this, the water that you use to rinse off the plates has to be 95 degree, I believe it was, so near boiling. And well, if it's near boiling, you can't put your hands in it. So we just had to stop. And he told me that just take the scraps, the food scraps off the plates, and then stack them. Just stack them on the bench. And there were some soup bowls, and soup, if you don't rinse that off right away, it will stick to the plate. So I suggested that we should put all the soup bowls and as much as the plates in the sink. There was a big wash basin in the and fill it with water. And he said, well, except you can't do that. I was like, why not? Just no, because in this place we are up so high that the water has to be pumped up here, up in the mountains. So they pump it up, and then they have a big tank, and then the water is pumped from the tank to the taps around the hotel. And when there was no power, obviously that pump didn't move. So I was like, well, okay, nothing more we can do. The chef, he went to the front desk at the hotel, and he called the boss, and the boss came very quickly, and they started calling different numbers to find out, is this a local power cut, is it big power cut, how long is it going to take, and so on. And everybody else, we were just waiting in the staff room, having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, um, and just kind of, obviously the waiters, they were still cleaning tables and waiting on the customers, and the food that they could get, they would get, and they would put candles all around the place, and but the incredible thing is that in Norway, people were kind of aware that stuff like this can happen, and everybody was calm. Everybody was just like, oh well, it's nature, just nothing to do about it. No one got angry, no one got upset or anything. It was just like, well, that's the way it is. When nature wants to throw us a curveball, we just have to live with it. So the atmosphere in the restaurant was actually better after the power cut than before, even though it was good before. So, but it was just kind of, yeah, people just kind of said, oh well, that's an experience. So very quickly we were told that this was not just a temporary power cut. The storm had knocked down some trees, that had taken down some power lines. So, and because of the storm, the snow, and the very hard wind, the power company couldn't go fix the cables right away because it was simply too dangerous. So we were told at least nothing's gonna happen tonight. So again, we just went back into the kitchen and kind of organized stuff, and yeah, as I say, the waiters and the chefs, they were still making the food that they could make without the oven, obviously, because, well, that was electric. So, and everybody else was just trying to pitch in, help out where we could, and all. Anyway, I think it was like a couple of hours later, everybody had had something to eat. All the guests went back to their rooms, and we just cleared as much of the kitchen as we could, and, well, went back to our room and went to bed. And when I woke up in the morning, I was kind of cold, I would say, because outside it was below freezing, quite a bit below freezing. And the heating in this place was all electric. And, well, without electric, no heating. So I got out of my bed and put some clothes on, and actually put my ski, what do you call it, the ski suit, thick pants, thick jacket, gloves, and hat and everything, so, and went back to, I was supposed to work that morning, so I went back to work. And when I arrived at the staff room, I was told that, well, there's no way around it. We have to do dishes by hand because, well, the guests need something to eat, and they need something to eat from. So, well, no way around it. We took a big plastic bucket, like a square plastic, what do you call it, plastic top, big plastic top, and went outside and got some snow. And we did this several times, and the chef would put all the snow in a big pot and melt it and heat it, and then we put it in the sink and started doing dishes by hand. Luckily, I got some help. I was not there alone with this. There were actually a couple of waiters who came to dry the dishes, and my colleague came to help me do the dishes, and and, well, we spent almost all day doing dishes by hand. When you have 250 customers in the restaurant, there's a lot of dishes. But in the kitchen, they put these propane heaters, and they put the propane heater in there was like a big, well, you could call it a big living room with a big fireplace. and all the guests, they would come sit there because the fireplace would heat the room, and also the bar was in the same room, and they would also put some propane heaters to kind of help get the temperature up. And it was it was a strange experience because everybody kind of got this. Well, yeah, all the guests and basically the staff too had a very good mood, even though all of a sudden everything was changed. But people's attitude was just positive because, well, we're in this situation together and we just have to help out. And the guests, they were like, yeah, we paid to stay in a hotel, a nice hotel in the mountains, and all of a sudden this. But as I said before, no one got angry. No one was negative. Everybody was just like, well, that's what happens. It's no one's fault. You know, nature throws this at us. We just have to get the best of it. And no one could leave because the roads were completely snowed over. So we actually had to stay. And the storm continued. Um, and we listened to radio. And we could hear that they actually said in the radio that it would be dangerous to go outside. They told people stay indoor. This weather is dangerous, so just stay inside the house and, well, wait it out. And it was an amazing experience because this whole thing, it lasted. Well, it started in the evening on Friday, and it ended. The storm, as such, ended during the evening in Saturday. But then it wasn't before Sunday afternoon, late afternoon, that the first snowplow came through to the hotel and cleared the road. And at that time, the guests, they should have left. Most of the guests should have left the hotel already in the morning on Sunday, and basically the rest in the afternoon on Sunday. But no one could. So and while no new guests could arrive because there was. But during this time, obviously, there was no heating, there was no electric. So Saturday evening, when it was time, well, as I say, all day Saturday, people stayed in this big living room, fireplace room, and to keep warm. And when it was time to go to bed, I was one of the people who were told that we should go get mattresses in people's rooms. We would go to a group of people and ask them, do you want to sleep in your hotel room? Well, it's cold, there's no heating. Or do you want us to bring your mattress and blankets down here? And then all the mattress was put on the floor in this big room, and people would just bunk down there, and it was really it was a extreme experience. Really, it was actually so much fun because of the whole atmosphere. It was just like, well, let's have fun. We are in this situation, we can't change it. Let's have fun. And people were singing, and someone had a guitar, and it was like almost like camping, but camping inside this building. But yeah, it was really great. It was the biggest campfire you could say I've ever been at, because there was like 250 people. No one wanted to go to their room because it was like, well, below freezing in their rooms. So everybody stayed in this big room and in this big common area and enjoyed the fireplace, enjoyed the heat from the fireplace, and some people had a little bit of to drink, some wine and some shots and stuff, but no one got drunk because we realized that would be stupid in this situation. But yeah, I've never seen this many people have a great time because of a thing like this, and everybody just has had a great time. It was really amazing. Um, and well, the staff, we were told, stay here. Don't go to your rooms to sleep, because it would actually be dangerous, because it's just too cold. Um, and obviously there are some downsides when you don't have running water. You can't flush the toilets, and that is kind of a problem. But again, they found a way around it, and they every now and again someone of the staff was told to go get snow. They would melt the snow and put buckets in the bathroom. And there was like two bathrooms, a ladies and a male bathroom that was heated with propane heaters, and we would flush with a scoop. And they were actually the only two toilets in the hotel that was not frozen, because all other room toilets and public toilets in the hotel was frozen solid, because, well, when the temperature go below zero, then obviously we had made sure to flush all toilets so that they wouldn't break. You know, if you have water in the toilet and you don't flush it, so it's empty, then the water will expand and break the toilet. So all the toilets had to be flushed, and so that there was no water in them. And we found a good use for balloons, by the way. It was because you also need to get the water out of the, you know, yeah, where the stuff ends, in the bottom of the toilet. You have to get that water out of there too, because that can also break it. And then when you get that water out, you get the stench, the smell of sewer. And someone suggested, let's take balloons, blow them up, and plug the hole with the balloon. And it worked, so no bad smell. But there was, as I say, these two toilets where that people could go do their things and flush with warm water. So there's always a solution, you know. But yeah, we had a great evening, and well, actually the whole Saturday was it was a lot of work, obviously, because, well, doing dishes by hand, as I say, and the chefs had to come up with stuff they could cook without using the oven. But as I say, if the attitude is right, then it's not a problem. But this weekend came to an end, as I say, on Sunday. I think it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. The plow truck, snowplow came through, and people could leave the hotel, and the wind had quiet down, so it was no longer snowing either. So it was safe to go out and leave the place. But a very interesting weekend, I would say. It really was, and I would say for the time at the hotel, this was kind of a emergency situation, you know. But the whole time I was there was this kind of community atmosphere about the place, and it was just wonderful, because yeah, I never experienced something like that before, and we had a really great time. Obviously, we had to work as well. We had to, but it never felt like, how to say, it never felt like we were working for someone, because we felt that it was our hotel. And that was really incredible. Great place, and great staff, great friends. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Another thing that I did a lot of was, on my days off, you know, I was there to make money. So when I had a day off, I would volunteer to do stuff. It would be like the boss would come into the staff room in the morning and say, today we have to get these things done. Anyone want to volunteer to do that? And obviously we would get paid as well. And actually, if you had your normal hours, you would get paid overtime to do these things. And I was very often I would volunteer, and a lot of the times I would. We had this ski hill, and there was a ski lift, and I would tend the ski lift, and go there and check that people had paid for using the lift. They had this ski cart, like yeah, so I could see that they paid for using it, and also rent out skis and stuff like that, equipment for skiing, and it was a lot of fun. I'm a bit of a well, at least back then I loved skiing, and I learned during my 8 months at the hotel during the winter months. I learned how to do downhill skiing, and it's just wonderful. But also cross country skiing it was really a big thing for me, and something I really enjoyed back then. It's way too long ago. I've been skiing last time, so I don't know. But I think I still know how to do it. But well. But yeah, I would volunteer to those kind of things, but also sometimes they would need they had this snowmobile, and some of the cross country routes, they wanted to make the tracks for the cross country skis, and some of the routes was too small for the big machine to do it. They had a big machine that would make two tracks next to each other, so that you could actually go pass each other. But some of the routes were too small for that machine, and they needed those routes done with the snowmobile, with this thing after. And I loved doing that, being out in nature on a snowmobile and just, by yourself. And that was a wonderful task. I was every time that the boss came in and asked, can someone please do the these and that track, and I would be like, yep, I'll do it. It was, I would have done this job even without pay. It was just a great way of spending a day. So but and then very often when I came back after making the cross country tracks, I would just take it's like a small sleigh that makes the tracks, take that off, and I would go to my boss's office and say, I'm back now, is it okay I take the snowmobile for a spin? I just want to go take some pictures and enjoy myself. And every time my boss would say, yeah, it's okay, have fun, be safe. And when I went on these kind of trips, even when I went to make tracks, I would bring a pair of cross-country skis and all the equipment, so that if I had problems, I could get on the skis and go back to the hotel. I had to do that a couple of times where the snowmobile actually broke down. One time it broke down and I had to get back. There was a belt between the engine and the gearbox, and that belt broke, and I didn't, at this time, it was the first time it happened to me, and I didn't bring an extra belt after it had happened. After that, every time I go on these rides, I would bring one of these belts, but the first time, well, I didn't. So I got on my cross-country skis and 10 kilometers back to the hotel, get a belt, back to the snowmobile, put the belt, and continue on. But yeah, the whole nature experience in this was just amazing. Being out in the Norwegian nature, in the mountains, and watching the wildlife, it was just wow, big, really big thing. It was, and also the whole problem solving part of it. every now and again, when you were making these tracks, you couldn't go very fast because then it would stir it up. It wouldn't look right. It wouldn't be right. So you had to go kind of slow. And when you go slow with the snowmobile, if you got soft snow, the snowmobile can get stuck, and then you just have to find a way to get out of this, well, this hole. And obviously, I would always bring a good sized knife when I went for these things, these drives, because, and water, hot tea, and those kind of normal emergency safety things, you know. But yeah, I would bring a knife, and I would bring a length of rope, and then just ingenuity, you know, find out how to get out. And I found a way that sometimes you could get out if you chop some branches of the pine trees and pack those in front of the belt. This snowmobile had 2 skis on the front and 1 belt on the back. And when it got stuck, it was just the belt that didn't get a grip. It just digged itself down. And then you just cut some branches of the pine trees and stick them in front of the belt. And then you could kind of use the pine tree branches to get traction. So you actually kind of use the same method with a car. Or you can use the same method with a car. That was one way to do it. Another way to do it was to dig underneath the front of the snowmobile, tie the rope to the front of the belt, and then tie the rope to a tree, and then use the belt as a winch. Because when you start the belt, the drive, the belt will pull it in the rope, and the rope will pull you out. It is a very untraditional way of doing it, but it works. It was something I came up with because I was in a place where there was no pine trees, so I couldn't use the pine tree branches. So I figured, well, let's try this, and it worked. And then when you have gone forward a bit, just go back and forward a couple of times, take the rope off, and then you can use this place where the snow is compacted. You can use that to get a bit of momentum and get out of there. So yeah, that was a lot of fun and a great experience, you know. And these trips, when I went after I finished make the tracks, and I would go for a trip in the mountains just by myself with the snowmobile and just, you know, to enjoy. Oh wow, it was just, and the thing was, the mountains in Norway, you can say they're like this, and then you go down a little bit, and then there's a plateau, and the hotel was on this plateau, and then you have tall mountains all around actually. And you know, when I went on these trips, I would drive across the plateau and then up into the mountains, and all the time you are no further away from the hotel. Even you are 10 kilometers away, or for that matter 20 kilometers away, you could always see it because you would get to higher ground, so you could still see the hotel down there on the plateau. So it was no problem finding my way back. So it was just really great. The whole nature experience of it was just amazing. And then, of course, springtime arrived. The snow started melt, and that's a beautiful time also, obviously, because when the snow melts, the trees start to get leaves, and flowers start to come through the snow, and it was just, you know, really, really so beautiful up there. So, but the reason why that I guess is interesting. The reason why I stopped working at this place, because for me, as it was, I could have continued on for years because it was such a wonderful place. But the thing was, the hotel was run by a gentleman who had rented it from the owner. The owner was a very old guy who had retired and because he had retired, he had rented it out to someone to run the hotel. When the owner and the boss of the hotel, the person who ran it, was to negotiate a new contract. The contract ended, and they were to negotiate a new one. They couldn't agree about it because the owner wanted more money. He was getting greedy, and the 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 condition was just not acceptable for the guy who ran the place. So he said, "Well, okay, I'm sorry about it. I can't make a new contract then." So he had to give us notice, and he did. And we were told that obviously we could negotiate new contracts with the owner if we wanted to. We tried. At first, we tried just like one-on-one. That was impossible. Then we tried calling in the union and asked them to help us, and that was impossible. The problem was that the owner of the hotel, he wanted to reduce our salary. He wanted to charge more for the staff rooms. Obviously, when we stay in a staff room, we pay rent to stay in the room, to have a place to sleep and rest. And he wanted to raise the rent for these rooms. So lower the salary, raise the rent. He wanted us to pay for our uniforms, work uniforms, and he wanted to raise the price for our food. Obviously, we had all our meals at the hotel in our staff dining room, and he wanted to raise that price too. So altogether, he wanted to reduce our, you can say, the money we were paid after rent and paying for food and paying for uniforms. Our salary would be reduced to around half. And obviously no one wanted to do that. And especially because at this time in Norway, there was a lack of staff everywhere. There was, I was about to say, opposite of unemployment. There was a lot of jobs to get. So it was like, you don't pay me right, I leave. you know. And well, basically that's what we had to do, because there was no way. Even the union, they tried to talk to him and try to negotiate, and but there was just no negotiations. Normally negotiations is like you give a little, take a little, and meet in the middle. But this guy, he was just, that's the way it's gonna be. And if you don't accept that, you can leave. And well, so we did. And actually, everybody, the 1st of May that year, everybody left. And I mean everybody. All the chefs, all the maids, all the waiters, all the technical staff, the drivers, everybody, all the bosses, everybody left. And this was a Thursday. The 1st of May was a Thursday. And we knew that on Friday, the next day, he had a fully booked hotel. But no staff. He didn't have chefs, he didn't have waiters, he didn't have anyone. There was himself and his wife. And that was it. I have no idea what he did. Honestly, I don't know what he decided to do. But, well, then we left. And as I say, 1st of May in the morning, you just saw staff driving away. And the boss, the owner, he was on the step of the hotel shouting and very angry and complaining. And everybody was just like, well, if you don't pay what we want, if you don't pay what we deserve, you're on your own, sir. Sorry, but you're on your own. And that was the end of it. We drove away from there, and well, I would say 95% of the staff, they had new jobs elsewhere already. I decided to go back to Denmark. It was kind of sad. It was really sad to leave the hotel, obviously, because we were a lot of friends there. But well, there was no way around it. So actually, that was the end of a wonderful stay in a hotel in the mountains in Norway. I hope you enjoyed that story. I know I enjoyed it. I enjoyed telling it, and I will go back to the nest, get some heat in my body because it's kind of cold today, and I will see you guys next time. You guys take care, and remember, life is good. Bye bye.